Welcome back to Math with Mr. P. Today we're doing chapter 4, lesson 2. This is 6th grade math. We are multiplying fractions and whole numbers. Before we begin, we're going to talk about what we briefly talked about in class. Anytime you multiply a fraction, you need to have another fraction on the other side. Whether that means you're turning a mixed number into an improper fraction or turning a whole number into a fraction by throwing it over 1. This is what we're going to be focusing on a lot today, is putting our whole numbers over 1. Now, that's our first principle for today. Anytime you want to make a whole number a fraction, you put it over 1. The reason why is because a fraction is a division problem that has not been solved yet. Division symbol is just a fraction with 2 dots representing the numbers that are not there. For example, 1/2, 1 over 2, is a division problem. This is going to be less than 1, but when I solve this, 1 divided by 2, I'm going to get a value. 2 cannot go into 1, 0, decimal, add a 0, 2 goes into 10, 5 times. 1/2 equals 0.5. That is the value of the fraction. So, anytime you want to make a whole number, which whether it's 7, 8, 10, you're going to make that into a fraction, you need to throw it over 1. Because anything divided by 1 is just that number. 7 divided by 1 is 7. 8 divided by 1 is 8. 10 divided by 1 is 10. So that is your trick on how to make a whole number into a fraction. Just put it over 1. The mistake that I see a lot is when, say 7 is our whole number, I'll see students do this. This does not equal 7. It does not equal 7. This equals 1 divided by 7, which, if I pull out my handy-dandy calculator, because it is going to be a repeating decimal, 1 divided by 7 will be 0.142857, 142857, 142857, otherwise known as 0.142857 with a bar notation over all of it, because it's going to be repeating. That is not 7. That is less than 7. Therefore, do not put your whole number as the denominator. Always put your whole number as the numerator, and the denominator will be 1. Now, with that being said, let's go to our vocab for this chapter. Commutative property. Now, commutative property has been brought up before in class. The commutative property basically says that the order in which certain math problems happens does not affect the answer. So, let's read what the textbook has. A commuter train travels back and forth, but does not change the distance traveled. In mathematics, operations that follow the commutative property can be performed in any order. For example, addition and multiplication are commutative. This means that the order in which we do that's addition or multiplication, does not matter. 3 plus 2 is the same thing as 2 plus 3. They will still equal 5. Doesn't matter which way you put it in order. The same thing can be said for multiplication. 5 times 2 will equal 10. The same as 2 times 5 will still equal 10. This rule also applies for multiple numbers. Does not just have to be 2. So for example, 1 plus 2 plus 3. That will equal 6. 3 plus 2 plus 1 still equals 6. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus the 1 is 6. And say we did 2 plus 1 plus 3, that would still equal 6. The order in which we added these all up does not matter. And the same can be said for multiple digits when we multiply. So let's do 2 times 3 times 4. 2 times 3 is 6, times 4 would be 24. Now, let's rewrite it in a different way. Let's just do it backwards. 4 times 3 times 2. 4 times 3 would be 12, times 2 would still equal 24. And let's say I did 3 times 2 times 4. This would still equal You guessed it, 24. Because 3 times 2 would be 6, times 4 would still be 24. So the commutative property will only work with addition and multiplication. Subtraction and division, completely different and will not work with commutative property. For example, 5 minus 2 would equal 3. 2 minus 5 does not equal 3. That'll actually equal negative 3. And the same thing can be said about division. 10 divided by 2 will equal 5, but 2 divided by 10 will not equal 5. It will actually equal, 10 will go into 2 0 times, add a decimal, bring down a 0, 10 will go into 20 twice, that will equal 0.2. So when you change the order of a math problem that is division or subtraction, it is not commutative property. You're going to get a completely different answer. Addition and multiplication, you can change the order and you will still get the exact same answer. So looking at our textbook, what is commutative and what is not commutative? 12 divided by 6, 6 divided by 12, not commutative. Division, the order does matter. Those are two completely different problems with two completely different answers. Tying your left shoe, tying your right shoe. Commutative. It doesn't matter which shoe you tie first, both shoes will be tied by the time you're done, so the order does not matter. 5 times 7, 7 times 5, multiplication is always commutative. No matter which one you choose, it will equal 35. Playing a game or a soccer game and then changing into your uniform, that is not commutative. You probably want to change into your uniform before the game. So the order there does matter. And then finally, 15 plus 5, 5 plus 15, as we said earlier, addition, the order does not matter because these both will still be 20. Multiplying a fraction by a whole number. So, as we said, when we multiply a fraction by a whole number, the easiest way to do it is just to put the whole number over 1 and multiply across. This is showing us a different type of method. It's using an area model. Notice that we're multiplying by 3/5. Remember, the denominator tells us how many there are to make a whole. So right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 fives, or 5/5, would make one whole. We only have 3/5, so I'm going to highlight the 3 that we have. I'm going to leave these two at the bottom blank because we don't have that. We only have 3/5. If we are doing 3/5 times 4, we're going to have 3/5, then another 3/5, then another 3/5, and another 3/5. This will give us our new total. Remember, we need 5 to make a whole. So I'm going to go ahead and start circling with a red pen. These 3 plus 2 of these would make 1 because it's 5 fives. That would make 1. I have 1 here. I have 3 here, which make 4/5, plus this last one over here would make another whole, which is another 1. Now I have 2. And I'm going to have 2/5 left over. So my answer should be 2 and 2/5. As you can see here, it is going to be 2 and 2/5. Let me show you a second method on how to do this. So area model is a good way to go, but it's not always the fastest. I will just say that. If this is what helps you solve the problem, go for the area model. The other way to do this would be just to do, let me make sure it's 3/5. It would be 3 over 5, or 3/5, times 4. My first step is to put 4 over 1. I want my whole number as a fraction because you need to be able to multiply numerator by numerator and denominator by denominator. This will give us a new fraction, which I'm going to tell you right now is going to be an improper fraction. 3 times 4 will equal 12. 5 times 1 will be 5. An improper fraction, again, is when you have a numerator that is larger than your denominator. Again, a fraction is just a division problem that has not been solved yet. So I cannot leave 12/5 as my answer. I can't. Even if the question doesn't say, oh, put it in simplest form, you really shouldn't be leaving it as an improper fraction. Always simplify. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take 12 and divide it by 5. Remember, a fraction is the division problem that has not been solved yet. Numerator divided by denominator. 5 will go into 12 twice. That will equal 10. When I subtract, I will have 2 left over. Now, here is the trick for finding your mixed number. Your whole number is on top, so this will be 2, and it will be a fraction. Numerator, 2. Denominator, 5. So my answer will be 2 2/5, which is what I got over here. 2 2/5. Now, there is a second part to this. You always want to check to make sure your little fraction part is simplified. 2 and 5 don't have any common factors, so it's already simplified. So my answer is 2 2/5. Let's do another example. We're going to do 1/4 times 5. 1/4 times 5. Now, again, this should be in your notes so you guys have these steps. The first step is to make your whole number a fraction. My whole number is 5. This will become 5/1. That's step 1. Step 2 is now to just multiply numerator by numerator and denominator by denominator. 1 times 5 will be 5. 4 times 1 will be 4. That's step 2. Step 3 is to make sure that your product, which is the answer to a multiplication problem, is simplified. 1, if it's a normal, proper fraction, which means your numerator is smaller than your denominator, just make sure it's simplified. Make sure they have no other common factors. If it is an improper fraction, you know you need to simplify immediately, which means, in this case, the 5 is bigger than the 4, our numerator is bigger than our denominator. I need to divide. Now, I need to simplify this. 5 divided by 4. 4 will go into 5 one time. That will be 4. When I subtract, I get 1 left over. And then our trick again is whole number, numerator, denominator, 1 1/4. And check to make sure that the fraction part is simplified. Because that numerator is 1, it's already simplified. So my answer is 1 1/4, not this. All right, and then this will pretty much wrap up the lesson here. There's nothing else, no other tricks I need to show you, but we're going to go ahead and do these got it's and see if you guys got the same answers. So go ahead and you can pause the video here. I want you guys to do D, E, and F in your notebook and see if you got the correct answers after you unpause, and we'll go over each one. So go ahead and pause right here. And hopefully you went ahead and solved all these problems so we can go over each one. 1/2 times 3. That's the one we're going to start with first. We're going to multiply by 3, and again, my whole number should be over 1. Numerator times numerator, which will give me 3. Denominator times denominator, which will give me 2. Improper fraction, don't like that. Need to go ahead and do 3 divided by 2. 3 divided by 2. 2 will go into 3 one time, which will be 2. When I subtract, I'll have 1 left over. My answer should be 1 1/2. And that fraction is already simplified, therefore my answer is 1 1/2. All right, let's look at the second question. Question E says 2/5 times 4. 2/5 times 4. I'm going to go ahead and put my 4 over 1 immediately because I don't want to have to erase and do that again because we know my whole number needs to be over 1. Apologize for the sirens in the background. I live near a hospital, so that is a common thing. But let's go ahead and multiply straight across. 2 times 4 will equal 8. 5 times 1 will equal 5. Improper fraction again. Don't like that. Need to go ahead and divide 8 by 5. 5 will only go into 8 one time. That will be 5. When I subtract, I'll get 3 left over. My answer should be 1 3/5. And 3 over 5 have no common factors, so therefore it is simplified. That is my answer. This is not my answer. And our last question for this lesson. 3/4 times 5. 3/4, and I'm going to go ahead and put 5 over 1 now. And I'm going to go ahead and multiply straight across. Let's go ahead and pick a different color for this one. Let's pick our cosmic color. 3 times 5 will be 15. 4 times 1 will be 4. Improper fraction again. Need to simplify this. 15 divided by 4. I know 4 times 4 is 16, so that's too much. So I'm going to go down 1 lower. That'll be 3, which will mean that'll be 12. When I subtract, I'll get 3 left over. My answer should be 3 3/4. And the 3/4 is simplified. Therefore, I am done. My answer is 3 3/4. And that's pretty much it for this lesson. Again, a recap. Anytime you multiply by a whole number, put the whole number over 1. We multiply fractions by multiplying numerator by denominator. Numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. If your answer turns out to be a improper fraction, you need to divide numerator by denominator to simplify it down into a mixed number, or if you get lucky, it'll be a whole number. And that's pretty much it for this run. If you have any questions, please make sure you guys that are in my class message me on Teams. If you're not in my class and you're just watching this, please, you can leave a comment and ask questions. We have learned in the past, there is an age restriction on comments. So if you registered as a minor, you probably will not be allowed to leave comments. If that is the case, either have a parent let you log in with their account, and then you can leave comments asking any questions if you're not, sure. Or, those are the best ways is to reach me. So again, if you're in my class and you still don't understand, message me on Teams. The rest of you can leave comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. As always, this is Mr. P, and I will see you guys on the next one.